Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Planning Commission for the City of Hudson for Thursday, April 25th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item is a consideration of minutes from 2/28.
Move for approval.
Is there any discussion, any changes? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Extraterritorial plat review, Meadow Valley of Troy, concept plan, section 17, Town of Troy, DCCI Land Planners, Inc. Mr. Darnold?
Mr. Matt Heeb, representing DCCI Land Planners, is here. This is a plat in the extraterritorial area of the city of Hudson, located in the town of Troy. They're proposing 30 lots. The density of this subdivision is allowed to be a little bit greater due to transfer of development rights and conservancy easements. I think the positive thing is it's not likely that city sanitary sewer and water would be extended in anywhere near future, at least not in the next 5 years. But the way it's proposed for subdivisions, they're a little bit smaller lots, about an acre and a half or acre and quarter to acre and a half. And if there would be a need for provision of sanitary sewer and water, it'd be better and easier to do it with these types of lots. Matt's here. If you want him to go over the proposed plat, I recommend approval.
So this is just extraterritorial, and this files under policy because it's a future. We recognize it as future possible annexation, or?
Well, the city, I mean, you look at the last 25 years, we probably haven't grown more than 3/4 to a mile out from the city. Here, you're at least a mile and a quarter out with some agricultural land in between. I mean, it's just not likely that the city, at least in the next 5 years, what our subdivision ordinance says, we can require utilities if it's on a capital improvement program. It looks like it's within the next 5 years. I mean, chances are slim and none
Right.
that utility, there's going to be a need for utilities. What I'm saying is, if in the future the city would grow sufficiently that sanitary sewer and water could get to that area, it'd be easier to serve these lots at that time because they're smaller lots.
Okay.
It'd be more economical to do so.
So he just wants to have it prepared, like he wants to have it in.
Well, they want to develop their land. That's
Yeah.
I mean, that's the main thing. And they've traded density. There's other areas in the town of Troy that cannot be developed, so this area can be developed at a slightly higher density.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 4, review and consideration of renewal of a conditional use permit for a garden center outdoor sales area at Home Depot, 2330 Crestview Drive. This is a permit or a conditional use permit that we have been doing for 6 years?
Since 2002, 10 years.
Okay.
It was originally approved in 2002, renewed 2004, 2007, 2010 is up for renewal this year. We've never had an issue with this particular garden center, recommending approval. I think they've established themselves to be well within the guidelines required by the city of Hudson. I guess it'd be your option where you want to set a review date or just allow it to continue without a renewal.
I'd recommend we not have to have a renewal date on it. I mean, it's been 10, 11 years?
10 years.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to that, to
Okay.
approve it without a renewal date.
Okay, is there a second? I'll second it. You want some more time? Okay. Any discussion, any questions that you have? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item, roundabout.
We'll go down to 6. Take care of that.
Okay, sure. Item 6, we're going to skip over 5 right now. Draft regulations for microbrewery, winery, distiller operations. Mr. Darnell. I think everyone got in their packet. And we also have some state.
Yeah, in the end of February, we discussed we're to take a look at allowing breweries, distilleries, wineries in the commercial areas. I've prepared a draft ordinance. I think there's still a lot of work to do on this particular draft ordinance, but I did want to get it back in front of the committee to discuss. Same parties that were here last time are here again tonight. Mr. Negret has provided some written comments, so it's provided to you. I did visit with Mr. Greg Harris from Hudson Brewing, and I think they'll probably have comments tonight also. Again, this is a working draft. Like to hear from them. So, one is to go back, perhaps try to get a draft in final form, bring it back for potential recommendation to the Common Council in the future. Or the other consideration would be is if there's no appetite for allowing these types of facilities, then we need to let these parties know, and also, not extend our work on this particular subject. So I don't know if you want to discuss the draft. You've had a chance to review it. What I tried to do was set up different types of, and most particularly, I really concentrated more on the downtown area because that's the location we'd be most concerned about as far as trying to fit it into the context of a commercial neighborhood. Again, requiring conditional use permits, and also in the central business district, restricting number of gallons of product produced, or production area or tasting room, or perhaps if you want to call it tap room for a brewery. One of the things Mr. Harris and I discussed was trying to regulate this, or trying to enforce this type of regulation would be difficult to do as far as the actual production. How do you know where they've, other than their state permits? So that, so then, it comes down more to the production area, and then there were some comments by Mr. Negret in regards to, I put in here that the wineries were not associated with restaurants. I mean, it could be either way. It's so from that standpoint, I'd just like to discuss so we can get some of the points together to further discuss, and welcome an opportunity for Mr. Negret and the representatives of Hudson Brewery to discuss these issues with us tonight also.
Benny, on limits on hours of operations,
Mm-hmm.
is that to carry out? Is that what you're referring to, or?
Well, basically on the hours of operation would be is we're not affiliated with a restaurant. When you have a production, it's they're producing wine or spirits or fermented beverages, and typically those, at least from what I've seen and other regulations in our communities, don't allow those to just be open long hours, typically restricting them to 9 or 10 o'clock at night, or not maybe opening till 10 o'clock in the morning. Where the production is the first consideration, then hospitality in a tap room or tasting room might be their second consideration. But it's not like a Class B beer or wine license in a restaurant where they're open till 2 o'clock at night. I mean, I don't think that's the intent of a brewery, is to be running the same type of operation, unless you're going to have a brew pub or a brewery that's associated with a restaurant where you'd have associated
Right.
hours of a restaurant. So that, these are just suggestions. I'm open to considering Mr. Negret suggestion. Maybe if a winery, might be open till 10 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday night.
My question related to that was because in the notes here that from from Vincent, they're debating contracting like a caterer or a chef to serve food. So if they're, I mean, I know you have to have a certain percentage of food served, you know, or.
Well,
but-
that, again, we're going back to, Class B licenses and food. Now, the winery license, depending on what the state would permit. So and we've got to mesh our
Yeah.
regulations with what the state allows. So it's not
Right.
it's not just our say in this issue. And I guess that's where I haven't been able to spend a lot of time in regards to taking a look at that particular, nor have I, due to potential costs, I have not brought the city attorney in on this issue yet, because I just don't want to start assuming cost, looking at least what's a working draft at this point.
So basically, this is ordinance is simply for a brewery. It's not intended for a brew pub, like what you're saying. It's not intended for to stay as a restaurant as well.
Well, what I suggested were a type A brewery and a type B. I'm trying not to get into the statutory terms of brew pub. I think Greg and I had a conversation where somebody is calling their potential business a brew pub. By state statute, a brew pub is one thing. What this particular business, which would be the renovation of Dibbles, their intent is just to sell craft beers that's manufactured somewhere else. By state statute, that is not a brew pub.
Correct.
But somebody may use that term because it's used in a more generic. So I've tried to stay away, at least at this initial draft, on some of those definitions. But we may have to go back and insert some of that, or refer to the state statutes, and if we choose to move ahead in furthering a draft. What's up to the
You
chairman?
should go up to the microphone, and if you could give us your name, please.
Of course. And my name, excuse me. My name is Rory O'Sullivan. That's RORYOSULLIVAN. I represent Mr. Harris. I'm his general counsel to the company that operates the brewery. My client's position on this is that we think the time is unripe for ordinances on this matter. I'm not sure how much interest there is, frankly, in really within the business community in setting up something like this downtown. And I'm sure there'd be very little political appetite to do something similar. In fact, I think you'd probably find quite a lot of opposition to the idea at the moment. As far as it goes within the context of the ordinance as proposed, I'm more than happy to work with Mr. Darnell in preparing something that we think might be useful, because obviously legislation like this would heavily influence my client. But in a broader context, unless there's a particular motive that is instigating this, I mean, my client is certainly curious. Is there a particular issue that needs to be addressed? I mean, it would seem to me, at least, that this is something of a moot point, because, I mean, is there a proposal that one of these would be set up downtown? And I think that's kind of a question that I'd like to ask Mr. Darnold about, is, I mean, this legislation as proposed, I think isn't quite right. I'd certainly like to be consulted with it. I'm quite happy to work with you in preparing it and redrafting it. But part of me thinks enough ink has been spilled on this matter that we needn't spill any more. And what is the point of this? I mean, is there a particular issue that you think needs addressing in this? And I am asking you now, I mean, why are we doing this?
Well, and as we explained at the last meeting, there has been contacts. Mr. Negritz contacted us in regards to wineries. I mean, we've had Greg, some time ago, contacted us where there's a possibility of being downtown. At that time, they were going through a whole change of the state statutes. Then it wasn't right.
Yeah. If
you want my opinion. But now that the state statutes have been worked through, again, this is a working draft. I mean, the Plan Commission has the opportunity to say no at any point in time, where they want to continue to proceed or not. That will be their decision.
Are there other parties who are pushing to have this legislation implemented?
Mr. Negrit's the primary one.
He's the only one?
Correct.
My understanding, he wants to set up a winery, isn't that right?
Well, I'd like to address all three of the issues at this time rather than try to piecemeal our regulations.
And I see. Well, I mean, if that's the case, I mean, if we're going to force the issue, I'm not sure. I mean, look, frankly, my personal opinion, and you could consult your city attorney about this, is it's not necessary to have a zoning ordinance to achieve these purposes. But even if that were the case, it is going to influence my client, and we'd like to have some drafting consultation before something like this was pushed out further.
Well, you're welcome to send me comments. And
I only found out this was going to committee yesterday, so I mean,
well, I don't anticipate the Plan Commission is likely to make a decision to recommend approval to the to the Common Council tonight.
All right. Well, I mean, I'd like to hear from Mr. Negritz. I mean, I'm very curious about what you'd like to say.
Well, we're running the meeting, not you.
Yeah.
So let's let the chairman make those decisions.
Yeah.
Very well.
So any other comments?
Not right now. I mean, perhaps Mr. Harris might want to have a word, and I'll speak to him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Negrit, would you like to say anything? Yes. You could state your name, please.
Vincent Negret.
Mm-hmm. Great. Okay. You have some comments for us.
Do you want to go over what comments you sent in writing? They've got a copy of the email that you sent me, Vincent. So do you want to go over that? Or
okay,
what?
sure. Well, so there was, you had proposed, let's see, we go point by point here. Some restrictions on the operation of a potential winery and a potential brewery in downtown, right? And I thought that some of these restrictions were a little bit too tight for the type of business that I was planning on setting up. So I kind of sent you a counter proposal, right, of maybe extending or changing a few things here and there. For example, the one was the production limit, right? So you were saying that production limit for, I have no idea, for example, for a brewery, what is a decent limit to survive, but I know that for a winery, in order to make it, it has to be above 10,000 cases. So Mr. Darnold had said that 10,000 cases would be the maximum limit. I thought that if you want to really survive long term, it could be a little bigger than that. No? So I proposed 15,000, and I would be comfortable in that respect. Why? Well, just so that it's not it doesn't become an industrial, right? Because I understand that basically the philosophy in the downtown district is to don't have an industrial site that is bringing merchandise up and down the road and causing trouble to the neighbors and all that, but just to be something that is creating an experience for the consumers that are here as tourists or as visitors and want to have something else to do, right? And that's the kind of the spirit of that, of that regulation. I understand it, and that's the spirit of what I consider a urban boutique winery, right? Would go well with a business district like this one, right, where you have a lot of people looking for things to do, and we will offer a wine experience, and they could offer probably a beer experience too, right? And now, tied with the wine experience, we have to think that wine alone doesn't work very well in your system, right? You gotta accompany it with a little bit of food. So there's where, when initially Mr. Darnold said that maybe only packaged foods should be sold in the at the winery location. I suggested then, well, that maybe it would be better if we could have a chef, an invited chef, coming and preparing some specialty items and things to have keep people happier, because the idea is to entertain the public and have them happy and try to make a little bit of money too. And then I also talked about the hours of operation, just extending them, especially on Fridays and Saturdays, where we have the most traffic, and especially during the summer where the sun goes down so late, people would probably enjoy, one more hour of sun and see the sunset over the other side of the river, and be enjoying a glass of wine. So that's why I call. During the week, it's probably not necessary, and so I don't see it as a burden to the business. What else was there? I think that was it, right?
Okay.
Can I get a clarification? Because
Sure.
I missed the first meeting with this.
Uh-huh.
We're having, and this is all in the Dibbles.
No.
No. This
No,
is just
no.
Not any.
Nothing to do
Okay.
with the Dibbles.
So, we got a brewery and a winery going
Yes,
on?
yep.
Well, we
Okay.
got a brewery in an industrial area, the one that's currently in existence.
Oh, yeah.
Question is, will we allow brewery, wineries, distilleries in the commercial areas?
Okay.
That's the issue.
Sure. If you could come up to the microphone, please.
Well,
I just need to clarify all the,
Yeah.
I need clarification of the players and all this, because I feel like I have an email from.
Well, we're
for the winery.
not necessarily setting regulations for a specific business
I
as much as trying to
understand
set up generic standards that apply throughout our commercial and industrial areas.
I understand that. My confusion came when the lawyer came up and said it's going to hurt his business, and then we have the winery, and then because I missed the last meeting, I just need a clarification, I guess.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Molly with American Sky. My husband and I own American Sky by Hudson Brewing Company. I just wanted to explain a little bit about where we're coming from. Rory came to help support us. We are all for, it's not that we're against this ordinance as far as opening up other breweries. I mean, I would love to see a winery here in Hudson. We just wanted to state our case that if this is opened up so that, originally, it's funny because we did want to be downtown Hudson. We had not owned a brewery before. We didn't quite understand the relationship between our customers, which the customers meaning like Casanovas or Dick's or Agave, they sell and serve our beer, which would in effect then, if this ordinance was opened up to move downtown Hudson, and we and other breweries were allowed to move down there, then that would kind of push us to directly compete with our customers. And mainly we are a distribution brewery. We do have a tap room to allow our customers to come in and taste our beer, have an experience there, and then hopefully that it grows our business and our distribution side. So that's where we're coming from. I believe that there is plenty of room here for more breweries, and I think it would be great for Hudson. We're proud to be part of it. We just are a bit concerned with if it's opened up downtown, then that would mean that we would feel that, okay, competition's downtown, then maybe we would need to be downtown. We love being up in the industrial area. Everyone who comes to our place, they either eat before they come or they eat afterwards. They are still, I feel like we're still contributing to the current business that's already here and has been here, and they're thriving businesses. So I guess I just wanted to explain that's where we're coming from. It's not
Because that was, my understanding, the last time you guys were here, you wanted to come down, and it was a good thing to open up the brewery downtown.
the last time that we were here. We didn't know what was going on. We weren't even notified that you guys were revamping or even considering.
We weren't doing it at that meeting. This is the meeting we're talking about it.
Right. The last meeting, wasn't it that you guys were talking about opening up? It was. Go ahead.
I talked the last one. I think when we would, just to be clear, we said if the ordinance was moved to go into allow us downtown,
Right.
it would force us to have to make a decision: do we come downtown? Which puts us at a disadvantage. Our business model is not intended to be a bar in downtown Hudson. Our business model is to distribute beer and to grow the craft beer industry within the Hudson community. We do that through the tap room, but by being right downtown next to our customers, go get a pint of American Sky at Pier 500 and then walk across the street and you get 6 of different ones. I mean, that business model just isn't successful, right? I mean, our intent is to grow on the distribution front.
Okay.
Tap rooms are great, but there's other ways to get there. And when I talked about that last time, it was there are already laws in effect at the microbrew level that we can have another retail location downtown. If we want to move some tanks downtown and open up that satellite site downtown, we have that ability to do that without the ordinance change today. At this point, we do not want to move from where we're at today. There's no intention for us to move downtown. It competes with our customer base.
Great.
Okay.
I mean, and I don't want to be putting you off just because Greg brought me along, because they're going through a lot of stress. This whole process is causing them a lot of stress because it's introduced a stress into their business. And here's the thing: it's like
I don't understand. The competition is stressful.
Do you mean?
I don't get it. No.
Because
explain that to me.
Because there has been, I think, a problem with the communication in this process. So they don't know what's going on with these ordinance changes. There
hasn't been any ordinance changes. These are proposed.
Even the proposals, like we're getting, last minute emails that these meetings are happening, and there's no.
All these notices are posted publicly. All you have to do is look in the website, and you can follow all of them.
And that's what we've done. But
okay,
I mean,
we're soliciting comments. We're not.
Well, my feeling is to say it's disingenuous to say that this is not. That we're just going to put in sort of general provisions governing this situation, because there hasn't been a brewery in Hudson since Prohibition, and I don't know if there's no other parties involved, and I don't know if there's likely to be another. So this can be taken care of, as Greg said, with any other liquor license. If they decided to open a tap room downtown Hudson, they could already under the current regime. It's not necessary to have an ordinance change. That's going to only affect one party, and then they will be forced to participate in this process. I mean, if you want to deal with wineries and their business models and what the right thing for them is, by all means do. But we would prefer not to. If this is going to take over, if the sideshow is going to take over the circus, and this becomes a question of the role and the position and the respect for breweries in Hudson, then that's a conversation that we want to be part of. But we need to know that whether or not what the position of the council is on it, because we're not pushing for that conversation. We understand that, wineries by all means, but don't involve us in that conversation purely as an afterthought, because I think it's more important to us than it probably is necessary to.
I'm sorry. Why would breweries trump wineries? It's all the same concept.
Because my understanding is that you're going to pass or proposed ordinance governing both breweries and wineries. I'm saying we're quite comfortable. If you want to just deal with wineries,
well,
leave us
that
out.
would make no sense. If you're going to deal with it, you do what our community developer is doing, and he's dealing with the whole concept. And we haven't decided to pass anything yet, or not. We've all seen this for the first time this week. It's not like, so I think that and I appreciate your beer, trust me. But what I'm saying is that the more you're standing up there, the more it's frustrating me, because you're assuming that this is a dog and pony show. It's not. When we look at this stuff, we think about all the businesses in Hudson. We don't just think about one. Mm-hmm. So, and we don't want to hurt any business in Hudson, but we need to have some sort of order and chaos sometimes.
So we are the only brewery that exists in Hudson today. There is one other one that's going to open here shortly. So I do feel like this does impact us most directly. So that's where we're
appreciate
coming from.
that.
I mean,
I appreciate your concern. What I'm saying is to start.
Yeah.
The words he's using is turning me off. I appreciate what you're saying, but I don't think that brewery should be an exception to this. If we're going to do this, we need to look at everything.
And that's fair, and that's why we're here.
Yeah.
It directly affects us. As far as competition, does Hudson want a brewery like American Sky in downtown Hudson? That's a question for you folks. Mm-hmm. And if the answer is yes, then let's be clear about that.
And I kind of got the impression last time you were in that you wanted to be downtown, but I must have misunderstood you.
Yeah, it was. It was a misunderstanding of if this is where you're going to force us to go, we're going to obviously have to be forced into a position to make a decision.
Didn't you originally want to come downtown?
Right,
But
you just
nothing
said
was
that.
set up at the time.
So
Then
we-
when we met that previous meeting,
Yep.
you expressed a desire that if somebody else was going to be downtown, you wanted the opportunity to
Right.
also.
Of course.
Right.
Okay.
Well, it's,
I mean, so the point is when we originally started the brewery, you know, it's a new industry. We didn't understand how the industry played out. We didn't understand the dynamics of the
Okay.
current bar and restaurant scene, right? We've learned a lot in our short existence of 7 months.
Yeah.
I think what you hear from Molly is that we understand our business model today from a competition standpoint. You know, I would back up and say, even if you open up the ordinance, I don't think American Sky would want to come downtown. I don't think we would want to suffer our growth with our distributed market to come downtown to sacrifice for 10% of the share of the taproom sales. It doesn't feel like the right mechanism to us. Yes, we've learned. Things have changed since January.
Okay.
Startups change. We're learning, and that's fact. That's where we're
And
at.
that's what we're trying to do here, too.
Yep.
well, Greg, you're
I think we need the other thing I would caution is I think y'all, if you don't understand what's going on in Minnesota today. So Minnesota now has just passed that 600% increase in beer tax. That's going to drive a lot of breweries like you see Barley Johns who have recently left their homestead in Roseville moving to New Richmond. A lot of these folks are going to try to port over to Wisconsin. Their first destination is going to be Hudson. So be very clear in anything we change or do that's going to change the landscape. And craft beer is in a boom industry, right? They're growing double-digit growth every year. You know, everyone's loving craft beer, and I think it's great. And then we want to continue to go after that. But I guess we know where our model's at. We know where our business is going, and we want that to continue to grow. But we're not afraid of competition. We think we have a great product, and I have no fear that we're the ones that went through the wall bloody. So let's keep going. So.
Okay, thank you. Comments? Anybody else?
I think
I have
Go
some
ahead.
questions with regard to the response that we came back.
I think Vincent's
Yeah, right.
response.
On the number of square feet, you talked about the 10 versus 15,000
Cases.
Cases of
cases,
production.
yes. But the 2,000 square feet and the 3,000 square feet of the production area, what was your desire on the number of square feet that would be required?
Did I not?
I was
I
looking
thought it was
for
4,000.
4,000 for space.
4,000 for production, yes.
Yeah.
And then I left just a question mark on the 2,000 square feet for the tasting room, just because we haven't defined what would be a tasting room, right? Just,
Correct.
yeah. So depending if that covers, because this is going to be it's called Winery Event Center, right? And we will operate in maybe in one single floor where we're going to have tasting room, a little wine store for gadgets that have to do with wine, and then also the area where the people will sit down and drink the wine and enjoy it.
So your feelings, based on your response and what you're saying now, are that the tasting room area of 2,000 square feet is okay. The 4,000 square feet is what you would recommend for production.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the 2,000 square foot, depending on what we define, that would be the tasting room area. If we include the restaurant or the event center, then it would be too small. But if it's just the bar, then it would be okay. Yeah, it's a matter of definitions. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
very clear.
Well, I appreciate all of Denny's work in preparing this draft, and I think this is something that we should, spend a little bit more time on and looking at. I think it could be, a huge benefit to the business community to offer some additional opportunities. But I appreciate his work, but I think we just need to take a little more time.
Oh, absolutely.
Denny, do you have a problem with the type A winery going to 15,000 cases and 4,000 production?
No, again, Greg and I talked about the production, the volumes. It'd be a very hard thing to regulate from a local standpoint. The production area, again, the reason we're looking at trying to restrict the production area is because if we're going to go downtown, you have a restricted area. And if you're going to try to fit these types of facilities in the context of a downtown commercial neighborhood, you got to be careful about how large these facilities are. So that's the reason to look at the potential restriction of the production area. Originally, I added it 2,000 square feet, and I go, oh boy, no. For some reason, it just didn't seem to me that was big enough. So I mean, this is a straw man.
Right, agreed. Do we even
Correct.
have space that would even, I mean,
Sure.
Oh,
how
absolutely.
much, I mean,
Well,
I know we have some, I mean, we don't have very much, is my point, for
No,
6,000 or higher.
and that's part of the issue too. Is that, you know, and part of the thing it may restrict locations is available space in the downtown area. So I mean that alone may restrict how many types of these types of facilities may go, if any.
Right. Well, but these are just maximums anyway, so if someone wants to
Right.
make it work with 2,000, that's their
Right.
choice.
Yeah,
Right.
those are the standards that they're going to have to abide to. So.
Right.
Just a quick comment on capacity. I mean, you don't, just because you restrict capacity here locally doesn't mean that you restrict capacity for a company. I mean, that a company can achieve capacity by many other means. I mean, Budweiser produces in probably 10 different places. I mean, you can't restrict capacity that if the business wants to grow as big as it wants to go, you have no control over that. I don't think you could possibly restrict that, but I'm not a lawmaker, so I couldn't tell you. So.
Well, I think by the size of the building, you'd probably be able to restrict it that way, right? As far
Not
as
necessarily, no.
That location?
No, it's called contract. A lot of folks do it. We choose not to because we like to produce on our own location.
Yep. But I mean at a different location.
Yeah, but you don't have to. It's
Right.
it's a ghost location.
Correct.
Yeah, you don't. You know, for example.
I think our concern is we don't want to have a full-fledged brewery operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in downtown Hudson.
That's
that's
I'm
what,
with you, and that's where I'm trying to say is if that's what you want, that's what you get.
We don't want.
Can I just say something real
Sure.
quick? That's what I wanted to just put a little bit more comment on that. If, I guess, and I want to back up because I don't want you guys, I want to apologize if you guys feel like that we've came in here and been upset or made allegations. You know, we're proud to be a brewery here in Hudson. We did have certain goals for distribution capacity and for our tap room. What Greg's talking about at that size of a brewery, and I guess let me back up here. I think where it got confused the last time that we met, we didn't know quite what was going on. We didn't know if you guys were reopening this because we did ask to be downtown, or if there were other breweries that were now coming to the scene that wanted to be downtown. So we were just trying to figure out what was going on. Therefore, that's the reason why we had said, if this does pass, please, let's keep in communications. However, I'm getting confused here now that when Greg was talking about capacity-wise, any type of larger brewery, like if you guys are trying to open this up for, like you had said, if you're gonna revisit this because of wineries and distilleries and breweries, and it's only fair that you do so because it's all kind of the same thing. I'm just not sure, like Greg said, you can't get a large brewery downtown in our area, and we would have loved if we didn't have that conflict with competing with our customers. Absolutely, we'd love to be in the downtown area. It's a beautiful historic area. I guess I think what we are posing is, why do they have to be downtown? Why can't they be up on the hill and still shuffling business back and forth? We still are a destination, the distilleries, wineries, and I see what you're saying. It would be beautiful to be on the river. I guess as far as the breweries go, if you're going to be a profitable brewery and you're going to distribute, you're going to need a larger brewing capacity. So
At your location, yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Let me make this comment. Your business is evolving. You're learning more and more about the brewery business. I'm trying to take an ordinance on an industry that I have a pretty limited knowledge of. I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to educate myself. I'm trying to learn the limits. We may end up, before it's all over with, saying this type of business from a pure brewing standpoint shouldn't be in the downtown area. That might be our decision. We're trying to get there
Right, right.
to make that decision.
We appreciate
So
you
say
guys
we're
are-
disingenuous in our efforts of conversations, I take exception to.
Sure. And I don't think that that's not what I'm trying to say, or...
I understand that. I know where the
yeah.
comment's coming from.
Yeah. We appreciate that you guys are talking about this, and that we have the opportunity to be here. We just would like to be we would like to be working more with you so that we can both understand. And if you guys need help, I mean, anything to help
Well,
Hudson
send
is...
it, you've got the draft, send us your comments.
Yeah.
Vincent's, we're open, Vincent and Greg and
Sounds
Molly,
good.
we're open for your comments, send them to me.
Yep.
We'll try to, this is a working draft.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Darnold, clearly you're
Yes.
referring to me when you say that you take exception to that. Well, I take exception to that fact. I mean, we had a conversation some weeks ago.
You
We had-
said
excuse me,
our
sir,
effort
excuse
was
me, sir, excuse me,
disingenuous,
sir.
sir.
Gentlemen, excuse me.
I take exception to the comment.
We had a conversation some weeks ago that I said, is there going to be a proposal? And you said, no, I'm just going to deep six it. And I was like,
No, I
okay.
didn't say that,
I said,
sir.
I want to stay involved
That's
with...
BS. You know it is.
How dare you? I said I want to stay involved in the drafting of this, and I would like to be...
All right, that's enough. We're done. That's it. All right. Any other comments, thoughts? We'll keep working on it. We'll go back and keep working. We'll bring it back if that's okay with
Can
people.
we hang on to
Oh,
Yes,
these
please.
documents?
That's what this is for.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Good.
Let's move on to the next item would be a roundabout status report on 405 Stage Line Road. I think we all have updates on that.
Now, last time we talked about the entrance improvements to the hospital clinic. We were looking at a traditional T intersection. Over the winter time, city staff and I have met with the representatives of the hospital clinic, both the Hudson Hospital and Health Partners. We came to a conclusion that a roundabout would be the safest intersection to implement at that location, primarily because left turns coming out of it will be more protected. There'd be a 15 or 20 mile an hour speed limit through the roundabout section. So that's, we're reviewing final plans. So I gave you a set of plans. It's a very traditional one-lane roundabout. It's not a two-lane roundabout like we have at the interchange of Handler Road and Trunk Highway 35.
Kenny, can you talk about that right hand heading east into I assume that's a right turn lane? Or-
Well, it's one lane, but you'll just be able to make,
Yep.
it'll be just a regular right turn, or you continue around the roundabout.
Okay.
Like one or the other.
Okay.
Can I just ask clarification? This
absolutely.
might be a dumb question, but, so is it going to be like right where the new entrance
Yes.
is now? So, okay, that's where it would be.
Correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct. Yeah.
Where the
They'll
new-
just be converting.
Where
that
they've kind of
curve.
moved it. Got it.
Is there any concern about large vehicle traffic? Will they be able to make that?
No, we've been very careful in discussions with the consulting engineer that truck traffic deliveries will be able to get through this roundabout. Correct. We've been extremely careful about, actually, what we said in meetings where we run a simulation of trucks going through this proposed intersection, we can see that it actually works.
So is it one lane because of space?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the volumes,
Yeah, volume. I get the volume part.
even a single lane roundabout can handle up to 25,000 cars
Right.
a day, and we're not even close to that.
Right, I read that, but is it going to, one of the questions that was asked to me by a constituent is it going to slow things, like back things up because it's one lane? I said I didn't think so, I just wanted to
Well,
ask
the
you.
traffic, the purpose of
flow.
the roundabout is you don't stop, you slow down, but you continue moving through.
And can we not have a forest in the middle of it?
Oh, what?
A forest?
Well,
Can we leave it as
Thing-
flat as possible so we can see around the roundabout?
Well, you have to understand, part of the reason that the elevation in the middle is so your traffic lights aren't conflicting.
Right,
You have to, it's a screen.
right.
So, I mean, we'll set it at the standards that, you know, I mean, there's typical standards on what you do. These will be the standards for this type of intersection.
Yeah, standards, but the trees are.
Well, we don't
It's
have
all
to have
greening,
trees
Mary.
there.
Well, whatever that is.
Well, one thing is you know,
Other roundabouts.
what can we easily maintain as far as,
Right.
you know, and still keep it looking attractive.
And I just have one other quick question.
Sure.
So do the emergency, I apologize, I don't know, do the emergency vehicles go?
They go,
They-
they
okay,
go off of
okay, so-
Pearson Drive, or Center
Got it.
Drive, excuse me.
No, the sidewalk comes to the front of the entrance, but it doesn't expand past along the entire lot of the hospital. Or does it, you know, what I'm saying? It stops at the western part of the roundabout, the sidewalk.
Yes.
The hospital continues, I don't know how much further east. Why wouldn't they put a sidewalk completely across their entire property?
Well, I think at the time that sidewalks are extended along that other stretch of the road, then we'd take a look at that, so.
Yeah, just because I would like to see, like I said, in the beginning, you know, if we're going to start doing all this, let's.
I understand.
Danny, is there any lighting here on this particular roundabout?
And there will be, well, they'll have to relocate the lighting at that
Okay.
southwest.
Because there's a, yeah, there's,
portion, they'll get relocated, but
Okay.
But it sounds like,
there's lighting on the north side of the road too.
yeah.
but it sounds like all parties are in agreement and you support this, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I think it'll be a safer design for, particularly for people leaving,
Correct.
Well, right now it's
making a
bad.
left turn.
It's really bad
out-
right now.
out
Very
of the-
dangerous.
Out of the facility, so.
I can't tell you the countless emails I receive on how right now it's dangerous and people are frustrated.
Is there a time frame that this would
We'll
be
implement once
constructed?
the staff approves it and.
Oh, okay.
Construction will occur
Great,
We want to get it done as soon as possible.
absolutely.
late this spring, early
Yeah.
summer.
So,
Is it spring yet?
Tomorrow. When will that be? Tomorrow, yeah.
You call me when it's spring, okay?
do we have any more construction on Hanley besides the roundabout that's going on?
No.
Okay, so Hanley will be open when, because it's going to obviously have to close.
Yeah, well, that's what we were looking at, is trying to make sure these two projects weren't going on at the same
Yeah.
time. Hannah Road interchange should be done middle of next week.
Okay.
When it's spring.
Yep. Anything else on this?
Do you need a motion to,
You want to make a recommendation of approval, but I,
Yep.
you know,
the
basically
recommendation to approve?
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other
Can't believe
discussion?
I seconded a roundabout.
I'm
All
going
in
to write it
favor?
down.
Revolving.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Anything else for other business for upcoming agendas?
There's hope, Mary.
Well, it makes sense here.
I know.
All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second? Yes. All right, all in
Frank.
favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you.